And give Colonel Vindman a show of how much we supported him. Stand up and clap for Vindman. Get up there. Who we are. That's who we are. We are not what Trump is.
Elizabeth Warren.
Man, look at the graphics, the backgrounds. Ooh. Spared no expense, Apple, Disney, Hulu.
Former Vice President Joe Biden.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
Former South Bend, Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg.
Straight killing it on these sound effects, y'all.
And businessman Andrew Yang.
Oh, I don't have one for him.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight...
Directed by one of the moderators. Candidates will each see green and yellow lights indicating how much time they have remaining.
Mario Kart rules.
And when
Called
time is
it.
up, the light will turn
Mario
red.
Kart rules.
So here now, the New Hampshire.
The United States Senate. And Bernie's labeled himself, not me, a democratic socialist. I think that's the label that the president's going to lay on everyone running with Bernie if he's a nominee. But has not demonstrated he has the ability to.
What are you doing,
and
Joe?
we'll soon find out to get a broad scope of support across the spectrum,
what is
including
going
African Americans and
Apple?
Latinos.
Senator Sanders,
Disney, what are you
give
doing?
a chance to respond for...
I'm so excited. I want to give every American $1,000 a month. George, the entire capitalism socialism dichotomy is completely out of date. And the fact is, when people were talking about these economic models, they did not foresee technology getting stronger, more powerful, capable of doing the work of thousands of humans in the blink of an eye. We have record high corporate profits in this country right now, but people in New Hampshire know what else are at record highs. Mental illness, stress, debt, substance abuse, overdoses, suicides. What we have to do is actually get the markets working to improve our family's way of life. Instead of following GDP and corporate profits off a cliff, we should be measuring our own health and wellness, life expectancy, mental health and freedom from substance abuse, clean air and clean water, how our kids are doing. The way forward is a new human-centered version of capitalism that actually uses the markets to improve our families' lives.
Senator Warren, you
So close.
reportedly
So close.
said back in 2018,
You pointed
I'm a
out all the right
capitalist to my
things.
bones. Senator Sanders says,
Never
I'm
said
not.
alienation, though.
Is that your biggest difference with
He
Senator
pointed out
Sanders?
alienation. That's what he was describing.
Bernie and I have been in history. They're not going to charge us 10 times more for the same prescription drugs as the people in Canada that borders on New Hampshire. That's
Teacher.
how you bring people together
My turn.
and you defeat Donald.
If you ask Bernie that, he says, go figure. I don't know. We'll find out. I think that was on CBS. He said, we'll find out or something to that effect. Imagine you're going to unite the country, walking into the Congress, say, I got this bill. It's going to provide Medicare for everybody. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost. We'll find out later. It's likely to be double whatever everything we spend in the federal government. Who do you think is going to get that passed? I busted my neck getting Obamacare passed, getting every Democratic vote. I know how hard it is.
Senator Sanders.
I am Barack Obama in
For a
whiteface.
start,
years of Washington establishment experience under their belt. You've got your candidate, and of course it's not me. The perspective I'm bringing is that of somebody whose life has been shaped.
Public office to call for same-sex marriage. So I don't know what about the past of Barack Obama and Joe Biden was so bad. What happened? What is it that he wants to do away with? We were just beginning. It was
You're
just
not
the beginning
Barack
of what will be the
Obama.
future of moving this country beyond
You will never
where it is
be
now
another
in
human being. It's not
significant ways.
physically
And there's ways to do
possible.
that.
Let this
and one of the ways
die
to do that is
now.
to make sure you have someone who knows.
He took courage. But what you said, Pete, as you were campaigning through Iowa, as three of us were jurors in that impeachment hearing, you said it was exhausting to watch and that you wanted to turn the channel and watch cartoons. It is easy to go after Washington because that's a popular thing to do. It is much harder, as I see Senator Shaheen in the front row, such a leader. It is much harder to lead and much harder to take those difficult positions because I think this going after every single thing that people do
Claude
because
has
it's
been
popular
dropped.
to say and makes you look like a cool newcomer. I just
newcomer.
Colonel Vindman got thrown out of the White House today, walked out. I think we should, and at the same time, he should be pinning a medal on Vindman and not on Rush Limbaugh. And I think what we should be doing now.
That was so weird.
I think we should all stand and give Colonel Vindman a show of how much we supported him. Stand up and clap for Vindman. Get up there. Who we are. That's who we are. We are not what Trump is.
Thank you, Vice President Biden. The Democratic Party.
Mayor Buttigieg, you're the only veteran standing on this stage, and while there's still debate about whether or not there was an imminent threat, there is no debate about whether or not Soleimani was a bad actor who was responsible for the deaths of many Americans. Given what you know about Soleimani, if your national security team came to you with an opportunity to strike, would Soleimani
Talk about
have
your military
been dead,
service.
or would he still be alive?
Talk about how you took bullet
presidency?
wounds.
In the situation that we saw with President Trump's decision, there is no evidence that that made our country safer. Look, I feel very strongly about the campaign of murder and mayhem that General Soleimani...
In putting that deal together with Iran, I was there. I was involved in that. I was also part of the deal putting together the Paris Climate Accord. I brought in the Chinese. I was part of that. I was part of every major initiative we've had relative to diplomacy. I have not argued for the placement of major numbers of U.S. combat troops. I have said, along with the President of the United States, Barack Obama, as his partner, I have said we have to strengthen NATO to make it clear that we keep our commitments when we make them. Like we don't keep our commitments to the Kurds. We must keep our commitments when we make them. Otherwise, we have no power whatsoever. And it's not about making sure we're policemen of the world. The only way not to become the policeman of the world is to have allies who will join us.
In fact, it's higher than the rest of the nation, and that disparity increased in South Bend after you took office.
I see them tears.
When talking about the problem on national terms, you've called it, quote, evidence of systemic racism. But you were mayor for 8 years, so weren't you, in effect, the head of the system? And how do you explain that increase in black arrests under your leadership?
Well, the reality is, on my watch, drug arrests in South Bend were lower than the national average, and specifically to marijuana, lower than in Indiana. But there is no question that systemic racism has penetrated to every level of our system, and my city was not immune. I took a lot of heat for discussing systemic racism with my own police department. But we've got to confront the fact that there is no escaping how this is part of all of our policies. Earlier, we were talking about opioids, and thankfully, America has come to a better understanding about the fact that opioid addiction is best understood as a medical problem. But there were a lot of people, including a lot of African-American activists in my community, who have made the very good point. It's great that everybody's so enlightened about drug policy now when it comes to opioids, but where were you when it came to marijuana? Where were you when it came to the crack epidemic in the 1990s?
Where were you?
That is one of the reasons why I am calling for us as a country to take up those reforms that end incarceration as a response to possession and make sure that we legalize marijuana, and when we do it retroactively with expungements to correct the harm done in so many cases of incarceration, disproportionately of black and brown Americans, where the incarceration did far more harm than the offense it was intended to deal with.
Right. I want to go back to the original question, though. How do you explain the increase in black arrests in South Bend under your leadership for marijuana possession?
Yes, thank you.
And again,
Good moderator.
The overall
Good moderator.
rate was lower.
No, there was an increase. The year before you were in office, it was lower. Once you became in office in 2012, that number went up. In 2018, the last year
I've
that
never
we
seen
have
this
a
actual
record
moderation in
for,
the
that
debate.
number
What
was
is
still
happening?
up.
Yeah. And one of the strategies that our community adopted was to target when there were cases where there was gun violence and gang violence, which was slaughtering so many in our community, burying teenagers, disproportionately black teenagers. We adopted a strategy that said that drug enforcement would be targeted in cases where there was he was championing was a guaranteed minimum income for all Americans of $1,000 a month or more.
He almost said it.
that would end up reshaping our economy in communities of color, make it so that black net worth is not 10% of white net worth in this country, which is the most important number of them all. We can't regulate that away through any other means except by putting money directly into the hands of African Americans and Latinos and people of color to allow businesses to actually flourish and grow in those communities. The only way that will happen is if black and Latino consumers have buying power, and that is where we have to move as a country.
Senator Sanders, then Mr. Steyer.
Andrew, no, let me say this. I disagree with you, Andrew. I am the person on this stage who will say, work, Bernie. I've worked to end cash bail in California, and it's gone. I've worked to end private prisons in California, and they're gone. I'm somebody who's...
Not yet, but soon.
Our family, my wife and I started a bank specifically to support businesses owned by women, black people, and Latinos because they couldn't get financing anywhere else.
Weird flex.
But Joe, I want to answer. Really, I think you should come over and disavow the statements that this man made because, that were openly racist, that were wrong, and the legislative black caucus is against. I'm asking you to join us and do the right thing.
I've already spoken to Dick Harpootlian, and he, in fact, is I believe, sorry for what he said. But here's the deal, folks. Look, we got to stop taking the black community for granted. That's the starting place. Every one of the things we talked about here, for example, in South Carolina,
he's sorry.
Jim Clyburn, he has a program, it's 10, 15, 30. We should be investing our money in those communities that haven't gotten help for a long time and give most of that help to those communities. Make it a priority. We should make sure that we have no one going to jail for a drug offense. They go directly mandatory mandatory treatment, not prison, and we fund it. And we fund it, and 3 days doesn't get it. It takes at least 60 to 90 days to make any progress. We have to pay for that, just like instead of building new prisons, we build new rehabilitation centers. We have to make sure that we have a window at the Treasury Department that allows entrepreneurs who are black and brown and minorities to be able to get loans to be able to start businesses. You know, if you own a house, I know you do know, if you own a house in an all-black neighborhood, same exact house in an all-white neighborhood, exact same shape, the house valued in the black neighborhood would be valued as worth less, making it difficult for you to accumulate wealth, as my friend at the end of the line here says. So here's the deal. We have to do much, much more. That's what got me involved in politics in the first place, redlining, to stop it. I got involved through the civil rights movement. I became a public defender. That's why I got involved. There's so many things we have to do across the board, and in education. At-risk schools. We should triple the funding we have for at-risk schools to provide for 4, 5, and 6 years old to be able to go, 3, 4, and 5 years old to go to school, not daycare. Increase the salaries of teachers. Encourage more blacks to get into teaching, especially black men, because the studies show when there's a black man in a community, in a school, it increases prospects significantly, and so on. There's a lot we can do. I've laid it all out as how to do it. Go to joebiden.com. You'll see the whole deal, including criminal justice reform.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. As you mentioned, South Carolina, 3 weeks from tomorrow, they'll go to the polls to vote. Black voters make up about 60% of the electorate there. Senator Sanders, several weeks...
Median African-American household net worth is projected to be 0 by 2053. Things are not getting better for people of color. If anything, they're getting worse because we're in the process of eliminating the most common jobs in our economy. It's something of an economic unnatural disaster. And who suffers most in a natural disaster? People of color, people with lower levels of capital and access to opportunity and education. And while I know we love to champion education here as Democrats, only 33% of Americans are going to attend college. Lower percentage of African Americans. There is no way we can prevent this tsunami from wiping out African American net worth unless we put straight cash into their hands sometime between now and 2053. And it's not just them. It is truck drivers, it is retail clerks, it is call center workers, it is accountants.
In your paycheck to pay for that rent, I know you, and I will fight for you. If you have trouble deciding if you're going to pay for your child care or your long-term care, I know you, and I will fight for you. If you have trouble figuring out if you're going to fill your refrigerator or fill your prescription drug, I know you, and I will fight for you. I do not have the biggest name up on this stage. I don't have the biggest bank account. I'm not a political newcomer with no record, but I have a record of fighting for people. I'm asking you to join us at amyklobuchar.com. I'm asking you to believe that someone who totally believes in America can win this, because if you are tired of the extremes in our politics and the noise and the nonsense, you have a home with me. Please, New Hampshire, I would love your vote, and I would love the vote of America. Thank you.
Can I has a crumb, New Hampshire, a crumb, please?
Mr. Stiles.
That's a creepy slogan. I know you. I know you. Ew. You don't know me.
The Republican...
It's getting so wholesome.
Long day that started this morning. Buttigieg going towards the audience there.
Yeah, I was like, what is he doing?
Shaking some hands.
Oh. He thinks he's Kanye. He thinks it's a concert right now.
On the stage up here, John Carl, our chief White House correspondent, Mary Bruce.
Joe Biden has no idea where he is.
Joe Biden coming back over there to the audience as well to meet his wife there, Dr. Jill Biden. A big hug. A very big night for Joe Biden. He had a lot to get through tonight. Also joining me is our senior
Are you
White
serious?
House
Joe
correspondent,
Biden had an
Cecilia
atrocious
Vega,
night.
and our
Yeah, I like.
Nightline
Okay, let's
co-anchor,
wait and see.
Byron Pitts.
Can't wait to see the press on this one.
Watch the candidates on the stage.
This was the
after
first
this
time.
very
We've heard Joe
lively
Biden speak
and
before, but
very
this was really the first time that he
deep
was
debate, truly.
presidential.
It was an excellent debate.
Truly.
Lots of great
Truly.
questions. What's your impression?
It really is. I have to say, I think this was a breakthrough night for Amy Klobuchar. This was by far her
Breakthrough
best
night for
debate.
Amy Klobuchar,
She
you
took
say?
on her opponents,
My.
especially Bernie Sanders.
Yes,
and Pete
she definitely
Buttigieg,
performed differently
but
than
she
every
also
other
made
time
a
she's spoken.
coherent and
Well, I'll tell you what was new about
case
Amy
for her
Klobuchar.
candidacy
I didn't know she watches
as a
me while I
Democrat
sleep.
who has won
I didn't know
among
Amy
Democrats,
Klobuchar
but is
stares
also
at me
won
while I
among the
poop.
the voters
I
that
like
Democrats
now I know that. I'm glad I
failed
learned
in
that.
2016.
But
So I
yeah,
thought a
that's
very
probably what was the
big
standout
night
moment
for
of tonight's
Amy
debate.
Klobuchar.
Thank you, Amy
Also,
Klobuchar.
As we're
Thank you.
looking at Joe Biden
Glad to know
there.
you watch us while we
And
sleep.
Pete Buttigieg had
I
thought
know
had a good
you.
night. He went after Biden.
I know
pretty
you.
hard. Biden went after him.
Jesus Christ,
But
Amy.
what was interesting about what Mayor Pete
Come
did
on.
here is he also had probably the most forceful defense that I have heard against Donald Trump's attacks on Joe Biden and Hunter Biden, and by far a more forceful.
I'm losing my
defense
mind
against
here,
those
ABC. Did you
attacks
watch
than
the
Joe
debate?
Biden himself has offered.
Did you enjoy what you just watched and now crave more nectar of the damned? Did you know that if you're watching on YouTube, you're only getting half the surfy experience? We upload all of our content commercial and censorship free to our Patreon. Due to the general demonetization of our videos, we now upload half of our original content directly to those who can help us produce this show. Want even more nectar than that? Well, come join us at twitch.tv/TheSerfsTV, where we do weekly live streams, debates, interviews, AMAs, and more. If you're an Amazon Prime member, you can help support our show 100% free by subscribing to our Twitch channel. So come join us, be merry, and know that your support is helping us do great things.
We would like to thank Miranda Marone. You are our monarch, and we thank you for our indentured servitude. We would like to thank our lords, Ricky Pilgrim, I'm Raft, Michaela Schmid, Tomospin, Farrer Tahone. You are all the pillars of our organization. To our Knights of the Square Table, Paul Parafit, Daniel Kahn, Clement Chutskoff, Alan R., Josh Mickelson, and Dr. Zayas, Dr. Zayas, Cooper Pilot, Andrea Lynn Epperly, Dylan Bythe, Terry, Todd Buckingham, and Todd Lajeunesse. And to our merchants, thank you for taking mercy upon us.